The Secrets of Star Wars is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
Hi, this is Ashley Eckstein, the voice of Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars, and you're listening to the Secrets of Star Wars podcast. May the Force be with you.
Hello there.
It's a power that Jedi have that lets them control people and make things float.
Impressive. Every word in that sentence was wrong.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
It's against my programming to impersonate a deity.
That's not how the Force works.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force, and I fear nothing.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
You're listening to The Secrets of Star Wars, where we talk about everything connected to that galaxy far, far away. From movies to books, TV shows, and more, we're looking at the deeper themes and meanings found in the Star Wars universe. Today we are discussing the 7th episode of the Maul Shadow Lord series, and this installment is called Call to Oblivion. I'm your host, Thomas Salerno, and joining me is Kathryn Laffrey. Hello, Kathryn.
Hello, Thomas.
And also joining us is Jeff Haecker. Hello there, Jeff.
Hey, Thomas.
So before we dive in to our analysis of the episode, Jeff, as always, you have a recap for us.
Yeah, so the episode begins with Maul, Devon, and Riley heading to the Maul cave, where Maul plans to leave Janix. Devon tells Riley not to trust anything Maul says, while Docky and Brander discuss their situation, with Brander saying Rena's soul has gone dark since the raid. Devon asks Maul about his master, and says casting him aside was not the deepest wound. Devon and Riley try to sneak away, but Maul tries to stop them, still tempting Devon to join him. He uses the Force to freeze Devon, and they exchange saber strikes, but the Imperial forces arrive. Devon joins Maul in fighting the Empire, and the Night Brother Scorn brings down the first lot with his repeating blaster, but more forces arrive and capture Riley. Devon tries to jump on the Lat gunship, but falls off, and she then escapes. Brander tells Docky that he worked with a Jedi before, and Devon rejoins them. Docky is ready to leave Janix, but Devon will not abandon Riley. Rook orders the Mandalorians to load up the ship and to leave behind their credits, but they are not happy about that. Riley is brought to the station, and Two Boots finds him, but Lieutenant Blake sends Two Boots away, threatening to memory wipe him. Rook warns Maul about the mercenaries and questions him about Devon and her loyalty to Docky, but Maul states allegiances can be severed. Brander calls Two Boots for help, but the droid ignores the call. And finally, the Inquisitors arrive and attack Maul, and he duels them while the mercenaries steal his ship. But they don't make it far before being shot down. Maul's mechanical leg is giving out, and Night Brother Scorn saves him from being killed, but is impaled by the Inquisitors. Maul pretends to surrender before Maul brings the roof down. The end.
For now.
For now.
For now, right?
All right, so what were your guys' initial impressions of this episode? How about it, Jeff?
Yeah, so like all the others, it was a great episode. I really liked it. It had, the last episode was kind of setting up the final, arc of the season. And again, this would have been, you could have watched this episode with the last one when they dropped. So, and I did. So you kind of get to see that payoff of the setup for what's Maul going to do with Devon now. But there's still that. She's tempted, but she's not falling for it all the way yet. But Docky kind of senses that that's happening, and Maul even kind of alludes to, well, if she won't join me, then I can sever the thing holding her to Docky, which is Docky himself. So kind of setting up that potential threat there. And now Riley's captured, and we're going to see what happens with that risk. Will they rescue him? And Maul's, the mechanical leg is giving out is kind of an interesting dynamic, because Maul's kind of always been portrayed as a super powerful, super skilled fighter, no matter what. But this is the first time we've really seen him struggle, and it leads to the death of one of the Night Brothers. So, and no spoilers for, I believe, the next episode. or I'm sorry, this episode would have been paired with the next one, but the next episode has some really good stuff kind of diving into Maul's character. So that'll be fun to discuss when we get there. But yeah, no, this was another great episode.
What did you think, Kathryn?
Definitely a roller coaster ride. You had a lot of action. You get a few little insights, which I was happy to have. But there's so many times I'm like screaming, no, at the screen to Devon, don't do it. But yeah, it was good. I mean, kind of just this constant urgency through the whole thing, which really carried through the whole episode. So it makes you, freak out when it goes to black at the end and you're like, what, no, don't leave me here. I gotta finish this.
Yeah.
And you could if you kept watching the next episode.
Right. Yeah. What I find remarkable is that I think of out of a lot of the recent Star Wars shows, I feel like this has been the most consistently good. There is not, I have not had hardly a bone to pick with any episode of this series so far. They're just good. Like even Bad Batch had some weak episodes, whereas this just seems consistently good from, I haven't seen the other three yet, but I assume they're going to be fine. So I'm just amazed at how consistently enjoyable these episodes are. The plotting is tight, the writing is spot on. There's also, and my brother and I were discussing this today, there's no annoying characters in this series. Usually a series will have one character that kind of grates on your nerves. And now, okay, Vario's annoying, but he's supposed to be, and that actually makes him funny.
Yes.
So it's, there's no kind of character who's off-putting or, just kind of grates on my gears. So yeah, I'm very impressed with the series so far. So as we start off, Janix is now completely locked down by the Empire. You hear the voices coming over the public address system saying that the planet is under interim Imperial authority. And I'm like, okay, with the Empire, interim always becomes permanent. So,
yeah.
Uh-huh. And we got a little taste of the Vader march in the opening song.
Oh,
so
really?
The opening music was super slow, played about 3 or 4 notes of the Vader march. And then it just changed just enough to put you back to where you were on Janix.
Yeah, the music has also been very impressive. And also, I don't know if I just first noticed about the visuals in this episode, or if somehow the visuals have subtly changed, but many of the backgrounds in this episode had a matte painting feel to them. They almost didn't look animated. They looked like static painted images. You could almost see the brushstrokes. It was like having a Star Wars Bob Ross painting in the background.
Well, it's funny because that's what they were. They actually did that for every episode, have a matte painting or more in it, and then they would digitize the matte painting.
For this show?
So, yes, for this show,
really?
Yeah. They went back to some old school techniques of matte painting and then digitized them to put them in.
So my brain was recognizing. Yeah, so my brain was recognizing that fact that they were using matte paintings, and that they actually were. That's incredible. Yeah, no wonder it looks so good. Yeah, I was interested with Devon and Maul right off the bat, how Devon and Riley are kind of going back and forth, and Riley's like, do you know this guy? Can we trust this guy? And she's like, yes, I know him. No, we can't trust him. And like, then why are we following him? And like, she has the choice, and Maul kind of subtly hints that she has the choice to go their own way, but then it's not really a choice because he hints if you go your own way, something vague badness will happen to you. But like, she chooses to keep following him to wherever it is he's going. So I thought that was interesting. They could have just bolted
Maul.
And run. Mm-hmm.
I'll help you and threaten you at the same time. That's basically what he does through this whole thing. I'm going to help you, but you don't. I'm going to kill you. So. But that scene was awesome from 2 points of perspective for me. One is the teacher hearing kids talk behind your back and knowing that you're listening to what they're saying and be like, you're wrong. And then being the student talking behind the teacher's back and getting caught. So.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. He even says something very teacher-like when he interrupts them. I forget exactly what he says, but it was very much like caught by the teacher. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that Maul, you can also tell he's like very like on the edge of trying to control himself. Like you can tell that underneath there's all this roiling rage, and he just has to keep it in check all the time. And Devon must think that they're going back to the hideout that she was at before, and she knows nothing good can come of being there. So, and she also has Riley to think about.
Yeah, but at the same time, they were being chased by Inquisitors, so it's like, what are your options? You don't really have a choice at the moment, but she does at least try to escape once she's there. Even though Maul's, he actually gets aggressive with her, and when she and Riley decide to leave, she said, he freezes her with the Force, and then they have a few saber strikes, and it's almost like it would have been her first time trying to kill him, like as the Sith do, like as your Sith apprentice tries to kill the Sith master, kind of a thing. But they were interrupted by the Empire.
Oh yeah, and that reminds me, like I haven't seen the completely freeze somebody since The Force Awakens, when Poe Dameron gets frozen by Kylo Ren he's gonna shoot him. He does the whole like, you're frozen yet you're like vibrating as you're
Yep. And Rey too was frozen. So
right, so and there must be a dark side technique, I guess. I've only seen Darksiders use it.
At least in canon. I think in Legends there were some instances like you could force stun, like one power was kind of force stun, where you kind of like freeze somebody to like, that was more of, I guess you're like knocking them unconscious for a minute. And I think there were instances of them using a similar type of thing, at least there's one I'm thinking of where Luke like froze some animals or something like that, like that were threatening them or something. So, but yeah, at least in the canon, it has seemed more of a dark side type of power, because if you're going to stop somebody, you just kind of lift them up like Kanan does in the Rebel, when he dies in Rebels, like he lifts Hera up and kind of pushes her back. He's not like freezing her body still in that moment. So
right, yeah. And Jedi can do that like sleep thing, where they they put you to sleep suddenly.
Yeah,
I've seen them do that. Yeah.
I liked how, Jeff, in the description, you said they were going down to the Maul cave. It was so Batman at that moment. I loved it. And then to have Devon call Riley, I have to get this boy home. It was like, what? Oh. Come on.
Right. And he objects. He's like, what? Boy? Like, we're like the same age, like, but again, like she must internally feel older than him, because like she's seen some stuff. She was a Jedi apprentice in the Clone Wars, so
yeah, she was a child soldier basically, and and survived a massacre and been on the run. Whereas Riley's like he's just in high school playing space lacrosse and being sad about his mom being far away.
Very different upbringings, Riley.
Yeah.
Right, which I hope they're going to continue exploring that down the road. As at the same time, Docky and Lawson are having their own little character moment. As they're trying to avoid patrols, and they assume that that Devon and Riley are going to do the same. But Lawson is, as any dad would be, extremely stressed out and fearful of what's going to happen. And, and starts blaming himself for the whole situation. But Docky tells him, you cannot let your regrets consume you. So I thought that was good Jedi wisdom coming from Docky.
I loved how calm he was. It just was like, you could feel the energy in that moment. And then the way Docky just kept being so calm. You're just kind of like, okay, what's next? And the actor's voice is one of those perfect, like, deep, calming voices. So it's like, perfect that he's such a calm character.
I have definitely heard that voice actor in other things.
Yeah, so he is, if you watch 24, he was the president in the first few seasons of, or I guess he wasn't the president at the beginning of 24, but...
Oh, yeah, he became president, right?
Yeah, and then he's been in the Allstate insurance commercials.
Oh, right!
Yep.
Forget his name, but yeah.
No, that's right. Now I can visualize him. Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, now I know who this is. Yeah.
Oh, we need Docky to say you're in good hands.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So they do make it to the Maul cave, and as we say, they try to escape. As they're overhearing Maul and Rook kind of talk, like, okay, so like, what's gonna happen? We got to get to the ship. Are we taking them along? And and they try to make their break to escape. I like how Maul just turns around. It's funny. It's his bat cave, but they do the Batman disappearing thing when he turns around and they're not there.
Oh yeah. And was it little Vario running off with that trunk as big as he was, or trying to?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I assume just a case full of credits, as many as he can carry.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting. You mentioned in the synopsis, Jeff, how the Mandalorian mercenaries want to take their credits with them, but Rook's just like, no, we don't have time for this right now. You got to leave it. And they're not too, as you said, they're not too pleased with that, having to leave all the money behind. And they've mentioned in previous episodes how there's no more money flowing in. Their loyalty is seemingly only bought with money. And yeah, all chaos breaks loose as the Empire shows up. And right as Maul and Devon are going to fight each other, they're interrupted by the Empire. And here's again where Devon has another inflection point to make a choice. She could leave Maul in the lurch, but she doesn't. She chooses to stand and fight the TK stormtroopers with him. I thought that was an interesting choice.
That was one of the times I was yelling at her. Stay with Riley.
Yeah, well, I think at that point it was like, if she didn't, like, they would have been overwhelmed by stormtroopers anyway if she didn't. So like, I think at that point it was still like she still had to, because if she didn't, there were too many for Maul to even like deflect, and they would have gotten shot. So I don't think he was choosing.
But he survived.
Well, yeah.
But we can also, I think we could also see in her head there's a choice, at least, because she looks back from Riley to Maul, from Riley to Maul, and then goes to help Maul. So I feel like at least in her, maybe they're in practice, there's not a choice, but in her head, there seemed to be one.
What do they say? Sin is more choosing the lesser good sometimes than actually choosing evil.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Because if she had gone with Riley right there, then maybe he wouldn't have been taken. Because the other gunship landed behind them. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a no-win scenario, really. Because it's like you either have troopers shooting in front of you, or shooting in the front, or shooting in the back.
Yeah, they ended up completely surrounded. Although I feel that later on, Docky could have said much what he said to Lawson to Devon. Don't let your regrets consume you, right? Because she clearly regrets not being able to save Riley and having him be caught.
Yeah, Docky though in this episode, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, but like when he's talking, after Devon gets back to them. He's like, oh, we're making it worse. We just need to leave. Like, like, it's not like it was your fault, or anything that the stormtroopers have gone after the Lawsons because you showed up at their house.
Right. Yeah.
So
he's also in that moment saying all the wrong things, like the things he shouldn't be saying as a mentor at that moment, like.
And to a father.
That was his one emotional response to it all. That was Docky being emotional because he asked her who else was with you, and she didn't say that they were with Maul.
Right, she said we don't have time for this. Yeah,
we don't have time for this. So he's like parent knee-jerk reaction. I got to get you away from this situation right now. And I'm like going, yep, I would have done that too and messed it up.
Right, yeah, because it's like, in his concern for his apprentice, like you said, he says something in a rash way that then comes off to Devon as very callous, like, oh, so you just want to leave this innocent person there who wouldn't be in this situation, as you said, Jeff, without us having been here, like we can't just leave all this collateral damage in our wake, because then we're not being Jedi anymore, right? Because, like keepers of the peace, not people leaving all this, all this mess in their wake. Although it was interesting to see, we finally got a bit of information that I've wanted from the beginning with Lawson, where he says he's worked with Jedi in the past. And I'm like, yes, I thought so. And it was finally nice to get confirmation on that. He said, I've worked with one of your kind before, and it never added up to me that the Jedi were declared traitors.
Yeah, and I've talked about it before, but I wonder if that is something we see in that comic that was like the prequel to the Maul show that stars Lawson, and I think it has Rena Soul in it. So I wonder if that's where that came from. But I haven't read that comic, so. Or if they don't make that, isn't a comic on that, then maybe that's a story they'll eventually do.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like
he crosses paths with Anakin and Obi-Wan or something.
Yeah.
Everybody crosses their path.
Everybody does, yeah. The thing about one of the great things about Star Wars is that they're very good at peppering stories with subtle hints that then they expand on later. It was I was very intrigued by Maul's mentioning of his feelings towards his former master, Darth Sidious, now the Emperor. And he says that the Emperor abandoning him, casting him out, was not the deepest wound. And I assume we'll get some exploration of that in the next episode, or maybe next couple of episodes. But in the context of this episode, that just makes me go, gosh, what does he mean by that?
Of course, I went right to, losing half of himself to Ben Kenobi. No. You could just hear Kenobi.
Well, yeah, Sidious did send him on that mission,
Yeah.
And told him to handle the Jedi,
Yeah, but he was always kind of set up as because I think in the canon timeline, like Dooku was already about to be his apprentice during the events of episode 1. Maul was just kind of, because Maul was never going to be the apprentice that takes over. He was just kind of the weapon and assassin that was going to be the tool that Sidious uses until there's a better option.
Right. Much like Asajj Ventress later.
Yeah.
You know, the kind of assassin tool apprentice. Yeah. But you could tell that, like, you know, Maul resents that. He thought he was the Sith apprentice, and to be, you know, and presumably, you know, like we know he grew up on Dathomir, you know. He had his brother there and the other Night Brothers, and, you know, grew up in that culture. And then to be, you know, essentially, you know, torn from all that. And then, so he's already lost that. And then which then makes me think, where it says, you know, Maul talks about, you know, his being abandoned by Sidious, not the deepest wound. Perhaps it was the killing of his brother, Savage, by Darth Sidious, that is the deepest wound that he mentions.
That's a lot to do with it. You know, and probably the fact that Sidious knew his half-life schedule, so knew when he was going to be cut down, set him up.
Yeah, and that's the thing, you know, Darth Sidious just uses people. Everybody else, it's not just Maul. Everybody else is tools for Darth Sidious in his grand game of crazy 4-dimensional chess that he plays with the galaxy. I mentioned earlier how the Mandalorian mercenaries are not happy with having to leave the credits behind. And so we see that even in this small group of Mandos here, not everybody is committed Mauldalorian.
Yeah.
You know, as we see Rook is, she mentions to Maul, since you claim the throne of Mandalore, I've followed you without question. But the other Mandalorian commandos who are with them are seemingly just mercenaries. She says that their loyalty needs to be bought and that the price keeps rising. So I find that interesting.
Yeah, and that fits with the Mandalorian culture we've seen, like from the show The Mandalorian. You know, we have Mandalorians like Bo-Katan who kind of believe in the ideals of Mandalore, and even the Children of the Watch, you know, subgroup, they kind of they follow the creed. But then you have some that end up just being mercenaries because they don't have, you know, they kind of give up their loyalty for money, like the Axe Woves and those other ones. And I love Axe Woves, and he kind of comes around in the end, but he does have that period between when Bo-Katan doesn't get the Darksaber and he goes to, he's like, well, I'm just going to go follow money. So it could be a similar kind of thing like that. They could have been followers of like Paz Vizsla or something, or Pre Vizsla. And when Maul took over, they kind of were like, yeah, we're just in it for the money now.
It was interesting too. Visually, I felt like the other mercenaries' armor and even Rook looked a little more beat up, a little more broken down. And her face even looked paler. And I know she was standing in front of like some screens and watching what was going on, but she turned, and just the way her face looked paler, as if like the life is kind of draining out of her, was really interesting in that.
Yeah, and how these other Mandalorians are just, they're like blank slates. Like we see the one fellow, we see his face, but none of the others. And they're all in this kind of gunmetal gray armor with none of the, you know, with none of the personalization that you see in a lot of other Mandalorian. You know, they usually heavily stylize and individualize their armor.
Yeah, it was interesting that they actually like they had one of them take the helmet off and actually animated a face. Like I was thinking there, it was kind of a money saving thing of like, oh, we don't have to do more animation. We just have to have the helmet on this guy. They actually took the helmet off, but you know he won't. But they did that, and he's no longer around. So because they get blown up.
Yeah, so they wrap up that thread in this episode. They introduce it, and then they wrap it up because, like, during the attempted another attempted escape from the Imperials, they're everywhere. There's stormtroopers and gunships all over the place. And then what's his name? Jeff, do you remember the name of that one Mandalorian who we see his face and they run off? I can't remember. Rook mentions it.
Oh, the one with the beard.
Yeah, I'm sure that he has a name, but yeah, I don't remember it.
Yeah, that was that whole bridge crossing for them felt like it was pulled from a video game. Because they get to a certain gate, get through the gate, and then everything kind of catches up to them. And then, oh, there's another threat. And it was like in video games where you got to get to certain checkpoint barriers to move on.
It was kind of like that, wasn't it? It was a fun action sequence. I did enjoy it a lot.
Yeah.
And I like how did we mention? Sorry, I like how when they're trying to get to the ship and the other Mandos are on it and they're going away and Varial's like, wait for me, it's like. Yes. Although it's lucky for him he didn't get on the ship because it gets blown up very quickly. That ship almost looked like a blending together of a Mandalorian, shuttle fighter, those standard Mandalorian fighters that we have, and Darth Maul's Sith infiltrator, his Scimitar class ship from the Phantom Menace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd have to. Yeah. I thought I guess I just when I was watching, I thought it was like just the regular Gauntlet fighter, but maybe it was.
I think it is, but
slightly different.
Yeah, I think there's some subtle visual cues, and it's also gray. It's that same kind of color as the Scimitar was, and I think just some subtle styling of the nose at certain angles made it look a lot like Maul's ship, which is appropriate, Oh, and I didn't put this in my notes, but Spybot had some funny moments in this episode.
Oh yeah.
Like I like when Riley shows up and he starts immediately bullying Riley and he's like, hope you survive or something like that, or he like threatens
him. The subtitles
like,
actually said spitting sound, like he was trying to spit on her. It's like, he's a robot, he can't spit.
Oh yeah, and I like how it's been established in an earlier episode that he has it out for the Imperial probe droids. He just doesn't like them,
yeah.
and although I wonder if his model and the probe droids are made by the same manufacturer, that would be even funnier. I think it's Arrakid Industries, but I'm not sure. But I like how he kills the Imperial probe droids, like, die, Imperial scum! It's like hilarious.
Yeah, I think he is supposed to be like an experimental probe droid that. Because Maul's ship, his from episode 1, from the movie episode 1, was kind of an experimental TIE fighter, and he had a probe droid in that too that he sent off to spy on what the Jedi were doing and everything.
Yeah, so he had multiple of those little spherical probes that were also, I believe, made by Arrakid Industries. So they seem to specialize in spy drones.
Yeah, so he probably just raided some Imperial store of, like, he would have had access to like more the classified tech, and so he probably, when he got busted out before he went back to Mandalore, he probably went and raided an Imperial storehouse for tech and got Spybot.
Yeah, who must have been like, was either his program was scrambled or he was hit on the head during manufacturing. And it's just like, or, they haven't wiped his memory in a long time. And so he's developed these bizarre, personality quirks. He shows what happens if you really, really don't. Or if you don't wipe the memory, or if you try to make repairs yourself, and he kind of goes like haywire.
Yeah, I've made jokes about that. If like I would have loved to see Spybot and Chopper get together and just go off and
gosh,
just cause mass destruction.
Because they're both demented. Yes.
I'm sure they're both keeping their count, going, well, hey, I blew up this. Well, I blew up that. Who's got the bigger kill count?
Right, yeah. I'm sure somebody's done it, but there has to be a video where it's Chopper's kill count, and it puts...
Oh, it's very high, because he, in Rebels, he was the one that caused a fleet of Imperial ships to blow up, or so. I forget exactly what the circumstance was.
Yeah.
So he is responsible for stopping for killing four big cruisers. So.
Oh my god.
He might just be beat by Luke in terms of the Luke, and then maybe Wedge and Lando in terms of the total number of people killed, because they blew up the Death Stars full of millions of people, or however many.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So another thing interesting about this whole sequence is, in the background you've got the conflict brewing more between Maul and Rook. Rook points out to him that she believes Devon is clouding his judgment, and so she's finally saying to him what she's thinking. This apprentice is clouding your judgment, we should just escape. And as you've mentioned before, Jeff, she's, in the back of her mind, she's also probably worrying about her own status in the organization. And if she'll no longer be useful to Maul, then what's the point of her, You
can tell she is a fighter, just not physically, but verbally, because she approached him, just putting it straight out. I don't like how the girl's affecting your situation. The guys want cash, or they're leaving. And she says, hey, even though he talks about loyalties can change, and she's like, yeah, they can. So it's just kind of putting it right back at him every single time, where it was she knew how to talk to him. And it was interesting because she did not say it in a way that would inflate his anger.
Right.
But just, it was so matter of fact that it was okay, we're on par with this. I want to get your mission going too. So it was interesting because she's, able to put him in his place and hold her place at the same time. So she's tough. She's really tough.
And she's not afraid to get physical either. With the one Mando, she at one point just grabs him and is shut up, get in line,
and the other Mando, I did find his name.
Okay.
It's Cabris. Kebris.
Oh, right. She's Kebris, you slime.
Kebris, there you go.
Flies off, yeah. And I'm a missed opportunity to use the Star Wars insult Slamo.
Yeah.
She should have said, you Slamo, because that's what they usually do, yeah.
And it's funny because he gives her farewell, Lady Cass. It's oh, wow. Right. Be a little more passive aggressive when you give her title.
Right, yeah. I'm using your title to indicate I no longer respect you. Back at the station, Riley's captured, brought back to police HQ, and it's interesting. Two Boots is threatened with the memory wipe, and then later, he's got to make a choice as to what he gets the call from Lawson on his communicator, which it's that same communicator that it just instantly reminded me of A New Hope when they're all in the trash compactor and they're trying to contact 3PO. 3PO, come in, and he's like, where's my comlink? Oh, I turned it off, so I had me immediately thinking of that. But it's interesting, okay, Two Boots has a choice to make. He stuffs it in a box so that no one can hear it, but he also doesn't report to anybody that Lawson is trying to get in contact with him. If he was truly loyal to the Empire, he would have gone up to Blake and been like, hey, Lawson is trying to contact me. Let's trace this signal. He doesn't do that. He just stuffs it in a box and looks around like worried. Like, did anybody hear that? Am I good? You know, like.
Just his whole way he sees Riley and was just like, you recognize me without my boots on. It was just adorable. I mean, there's obviously a long-term relationship there, and they showed it visually. The art on this is amazing because Two Boots says, you recognize me without my boots on. They pan down his legs, and you can see that he wore his boots for a very long time, probably longer than Riley is old, because the paint where his boots were had not faded.
Right.
The rest of his body was faded and dented and scratched.
Beat up.
Oh, that was just so cool. I'm like, oh man, those subtle little details in this were fabulous.
That line is like an inverse of the thing from episode 7 where 3PO's like, Captain Solo, you probably didn't recognize me because of my red arm, you know?
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, droid personalities, they're fun.
And I remember mentioning in a previous episode how, like, Two Boots is the only one where you can see his eyes, because, like, again, like, he doesn't have that visor that the other ones have. So it's like he has personality, and he had the boots on. He has all of these, you know, weird little dents and dings in him. So you can tell, like, he's not the standard. He's no longer the standard issue, you know, off the factory floor police droid, you know, any more than R2D2 is like your standard protocol, your standard astromech, you know.
Yeah, well, and it's probably Lawson that kept him from getting memory wipes, because like he would have been Lawson's like partner or, you know, or droid, you know, companion or whatever. So it was probably up to Lawson to wipe the memory, and he just was like, I'll get around to it, and just never did. And you know, 20 years, you know, 15 years later, he never did, and we have, you know, the current Two Boots. So,
and it was probably even for like,
he did the Two Boots did the classic parent line where Riley's being brought in for causing trouble, and he's like, Riley Lawson. And I was like, oh man, if we had Riley's middle name, that would have been the icing on the cake.
Right? Yeah. I always knew if I was in trouble, it was Thomas John, and I'm like, you know, like, so. And he probably, another reason Lawson probably didn't wipe the memories, because, like, obviously Two Boots had befriended Riley. And so when Riley was younger, it probably would have been upsetting to him to have the droid's memory wiped. And so, you know, he's like, well, you know, his mom's already, you know, out of the picture. I don't want him to lose this friend that he's made in the droid. So I won't wipe his memory. And I think you said in an earlier episode, Jeff, that like Lawson may have like on the surface, he may like be annoyed by Two Boots, but like he probably is endeared by Two Boots's like personality quirks, and is like, I don't want to wipe his memory.
Yeah, and it's nice because Two Boots is so familiar with Riley and cares about him enough that right away he uses his other trait of loving protocol to try to stop Blake, right? Good old Blake, from doing anything to Riley by just saying, well, protocol says. It's like, okay. But he gets cut down quick on that one. Yep.
And Riley gets put in a holding cell.
It was so sad seeing him all curled up in the dark.
Yeah. I was like, oh. What did you guys think of the final lightsaber fight? Maul is stuck again in a 2-against-1 scenario. Although instead of against, you know, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, he's now against 2 Inquisitors who both have double-bladed lightsabers like him.
Well, we got to back it up just a little for when we were introduced to both of them in this episode. Because we get the panning up to the rooftop for Spider-Man. I mean, Merrick.
That was more Batman. That was more Batman, like on the roof in the dark.
Oh gosh, I got
like
a little
Batman
Spider-Man vibes
if
from that too.
Spider-Man was Batman, it's
Yeah.
it's like the amalgam universe. If anyone's ever read,
I think it's just the way he's built
comics.
too. He's got that Spider-Man feel.
Yeah, he's very.
But then when he's standing outside the police station, with Blake, another great subtle art detail. Blake's holding onto his cap.
Yeah.
You've got this wind and everything. So it's like, oh my gosh, you got the winds change. Something bad is coming. And then there's Crow. And it was like, yes, that was just great introduction into the show.
He does not have a single line of dialogue in this episode. I'm like, oh, they not want to get another voice actor? Or like...
Well, Maroke barely speaks either, so
yeah,
they're not like the Rebels Inquisitors that are constantly like talking and quipping. But when they're
just
up
get them
against
dialoguing, right?
Yeah. No, it was cool to see the Inquisitor shuttle again. I don't know the make of this one, but I assume it's from the same manufacturer that makes the Lambda shuttles. It's got the folding wings like they all do. I think the last time we saw that was in Kenobi. When yeah. It's got that very like aggressive Imperial look, and it's all black, and I'm like, they've got their the Inquisitors definitely have their aesthetic that they like. But yeah, seeing him come off the he's a very intimidating looking character, the Crow, and he almost reminds me of like he's got the like kind of plague doctor mask,
Yes.
Yeah,
that's kind of what I think that he gets the vibe of, because when we see him in Tales of the Jedi, which comes after this show, I guess we don't know the exact timeline, so I guess it's possible.
Well, it has to, because he dies in that.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. So yeah, but he does. That's what I've always kind of thought too, is he looks like a plague. And we don't know if that's a mask or if he's an alien species that has like a facial structure
Skull
like
head.
that. So
yeah.
Well, when he dies in that, his face turns to smoke. When she cut his head off, you see the puff of smoke come out and his mask just fall to the ground. So it's like, okay,
he also
what was
he reminds me of if anyone's read the Aragon book series, he reminds me of the Razak from those books, who are these humanoid monsters, but they have these skull like bird heads and they wear cloaks, not unlike the Crow here. So he's got very much the vibe of a Razak from Aragon. They were essentially the Aragon universe's version of the Nazgul in those books, the creepy undead monster that the bad guy sends out to go find you, But yeah, that's what he reminds me of. But it was neat to finally get another Inquisitor in the mix so that we can have this really cool fight that happens. And Maul, as we mentioned, is not 100% in this, because when his knee, which is already, they did some rough and ready repairs on it, gives out again when he does that big jump, and he lands hard and the knee kind of shorts out. And so for the rest of the fight, he's got this handicap.
Yeah. And that's also where we lose the Night Brother Scorn, because he was trying to help Maul out, and but he took the hit for Maul and died. So the other one's still there. I believe the other one's Icarus, but yeah. R.I.P. to Scorn.
We barely knew ye.
Line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had a cool minigun.
Classic line between all these guys. Brother!
Yeah.
And I think Scorn is also voiced by Clancy Brown, who did Savage and other characters in Star Wars.
Nice. It was fascinating how the deeper down they went, the more primal and jungle-like you're getting. So you just feel like you're going into just this like animal fight, whereas it's just like wild animals in the jungle going after each other kind of thing. So I loved that just subtle change in the feel as you're going in and out of these caves, and there's vegetation and waterfalls. The waterfall effect was incredible because as you get people passing behind them, the detail on that was awesome. And then just having the waterfall there as another symbolism of, you know, there's a meeting point happening. There's a big turn in the story that's going to happen with the, you know, seeing those waterfalls in there.
It also kind of reminded me of the Duel a bit with how the waterfall plays a part in that episode of Star Wars Visions.
And it wasn't Clancy Brown who voiced Scorn, but it was the guy who voiced Pong Krell from the Clone Wars, who also had a deep voice. So
it's treason then. That guy, yeah. Haven't thought about him in a while. Yeah, I just really liked this fight, and all of the lightsaber fights in this, even if they've been brief, have been visually very stunning and visually arresting. I don't know what it is about the lightsabers in this, but they look very. It's almost like they might be messing with the frame rate when the lightsabers swing, or there's just something about how like they don't look like they're moving at the same speed as everything else. It's some sort of weird effect, but I like it.
Yeah, well,
they definitely added more motion blur.
Yeah,
maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Well, it's almost like they also made the sabers like they're flame, because when they swing, there's like a little bit of like, it's not just a single point of light that's moving consistently. There's like red trailing off of it, so it's almost like Kylo Ren's lightsaber from the sequels, which has that kind of like flame-like, like it's not a steady blade, and I think it's because the crystal is cracked or something. But that's definitely a new touch for this show, that they've kind of added that. Because and it could just be now that the technology has advanced, they can do cooler stuff like that.
Not to mention they did a lot with the lighting effects, which takes up a lot of time. After you get the characters all laid out and in motion, then you go through and you got to add in all the lighting effects.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so they're adding in so many layers of lighting effects with the lightsabers in this, where you have more reflection. You can see reflection in their eyes, and then when they're fighting someone, so you get their lightsaber reflected in the other person's eyes. So it just adds to it. It's just so subtle, but it really just enriches it all.
Yeah, and the lightsaber motion blur effect definitely gives a further vibe of everything being a little bit unhinged in this show. Just like the title card always does, with like the sparks and flame in the background, the crackling noise, and then the title slowly being rubbed away, by an invisible eraser or whatever. Like, I really enjoyed Maul's, like, it looks like he's going to surrender, but what he's really doing is going into a meditation pose so he can bring the roof down on everybody. But the two Inquisitors there think he's trying to surrender, and there's like the Emperor wants you dead. And I love Maul's reply to that. He just says, likewise.
Yes. Oh,
he wants the Emperor dead. Yeah. And like what he reminds me earlier of what he says to Devon when she's like, is your master still alive? And he says, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's just been a fabulous show. My goodness, this one just built up so much to that point. And you just don't want to stop watching.
Right. It's a great cliffhanger. It's almost like so this went back to back with the next one. It's almost like they shouldn't have done that. They should have just left the cliffhanger of it being like, no, like what happens, But yeah, after seeing Grogu on the big screen,
if I wanted anything on the big screen, it's this series on the big screen. That would be incredible. Put this in IMAX, please.
So is there anything we missed before we start to wrap up?
Oh.
I think the one thing I may have glossed over was the fact that, they're Lawson, Docky, and Devon do scout out the police headquarters. And, it's so heavily fortified that they're not sure how or if they're going to be able to get Riley out. And that's the other kind of unresolved plot thread going into the next episode. What about Riley? How will they get in there? But I mean, they've got 2 Jedi there. They'll figure it out. Well, that's it for this discussion of the secrets of Star Wars. But before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank all our patrons who make this podcast possible, including Elizabeth K., Nathan C., Rob P., Blair N., and Patrick M. Their generous donations help us to create the secrets of Star Wars and all the shows here at StarQuest. You can join them at givestarquest.com. Be sure to follow the Secrets of Star Wars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favorite podcast app, or on the StarQuest YouTube channel. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, on X where we are at SQPN, or on Instagram where we are at StarQuest Network. And be sure to get your official Secrets of Star Wars gear at sqpn.com/merch. So now we'd like to hear from you, our listeners. What did you think of this episode of Maul, Shadow Lord? You can let us know by sending us an email to starwars@sqpn.com. You can message us on our social media pages, or you can leave a comment on our channel on the StarQuest Discord server, which you can find at sqpn.com/Discord. We have both a spoilers channel on Discord and also a regular Star Wars channel for all kinds of spoiler-free fun. So join us next time for our discussion of Episode 8 of Maul, Shadow Lord. But until then, thank you, Kathryn Laffrey, for joining me and sharing the secrets of Star Wars.
Thank you, Thomas.
And Jeff Haecker, thank you as well.
Thanks, Thomas.
Once again, I'm Thomas Salerno. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Star Wars on StarQuest.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Television. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/TV.